Good morning, good afternoon, or good night, and welcome to Command Power, the show in which we discuss all things Magic the Gathering with a focus on Commander. And today we have a brand new episode in our card spotlight series in which I look at a card that I feel is underplayed or underappreciated in Commander and discuss its merits. But before we do that, just a quick reminder to please click subscribe if you enjoy these videos. It's the only way the YouTube algorithm really notices me, and we're currently growing the channel and it helps me a lot. Much appreciated. And today we're discussing a new card from the Phyrexia All-Would-Be-One Commander set, and that is Goldwarden's Gambit. Now, Goldwarden's Gambit is a sorcery for 6 colors, 2 red, and has affinity for equipment, which means of course it costs 1 less for each equipment you control. And then it says create 5 2/2 red rebel creature tokens. They gain haste until end of turn. For each of those tokens, you may attach an equipment you control to it. So this card is a little bit niche, yes, but it's going to be exceptional in those decks where it's good. And the decks where it's good are pretty obvious. They're going to be equipment decks, but also it's going to be good in any deck that has an equipment sub-theme, I feel. You don't need to have all 5 equipments for this to be good. You can just have 2 or 3 on the board, and it's still going to be really worth it. So where this card is going to shine is after board wipes, because as a tool for rebuilding, this is going to be fantastic. What usually happens in equipment decks and in other kind of aggro decks in Commander is that you have a great initial assault, you dump all of your hand, and then somebody wipes the board, and you're kind of left with opponents that are low life total, but not low enough that you can really get to them, because there isn't that much direct burn in Commander, unless you're already ahead on board. So you're kind of stuck in this awkward situation where you're trying to finish the game, but you can't really get through because your opponent has wiped the board and had time to build up some defenses, or because they've just stalled your attack so much that you just have to start rebuilding, and it's going to take you 2 or 3 turns, but by that point they will also have rebuilt. This card helps a lot in those situations because the affinity is dependent on your equipment but not on creatures being alive. So if someone wipes your board of creatures and you're left with all this normally useless equipment around that you have to attach and attack with and all that, you can just drop this immediately. You get to skip all of the equip costs, they just get attached immediately, and you get to swing for at least 10 hasty damage, but probably much more. Realistically, you're probably going to be hitting for at least around 20 when you cast this in an equipment deck out of nowhere. That's really sweet. Of course, it's going to be really cheap, which means you can also follow it up with other stuff afterwards, like an overwhelm effect or some other way to win the game, or just pay the equipment cost for other equipments that you may have lying around. But the other really cool case for this card is when you're pretty far behind and have a board wipe in hand. So for example, if the board is flooded by your opponent's stuff and you only have a couple of things, and then you drop something like a blasphemous act, suddenly everything's going to be dead, the board's going to be empty, which means that you're going to be able to get through, and then you're going to play this, and again you're going to just swing with a bunch of creatures into what is now an empty board. So this card kind of makes it a bit better to run board wipes in your aggro decks, which you should be doing anyway. You should be running a few board wipes because you never know when you're going to need them, even in a very aggro deck, and I'm guilty of this. I'm guilty of not putting enough board wipes in my deck. So I just feel like this is a really good tool for recovering after a board wipe, or for using after you wipe the board yourself as a way to get in those last few points of damage. Of course, the decks that it's going to go in are very narrow. It's basically going in any deck or any commander that cares about equipments, but in those decks, this is going to be probably a staple and an auto-include. So yeah, I look forward to losing to this card a lot since I don't really play that kind of decks myself. So there you have it. That has been our card spotlight for today. What are your thoughts on this card? Let me know in the comment section below. I read all comments and respond to all of them too. And if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to click like or subscribe. It really helps the channel. And until next time, take care. Woo!